Donald Trump is panicking as catastrophic news is coming out of the Middle East from Donald Trump's unlawful invasion of Iran. The United States consulate in Dubai hit by Iranian drones. The United States CIA building in Saudi Arabia, Riyadh, hit by Iranian drones. The U.S. Air Base in Qatar, the Al Udeid base, hit by Iranian drones, including a ballistic radar detection system hit by Iranian drones. The United States is running out of its munitions. Donald Trump is lying and claims we have unlimited munitions, but Donald Trump has now called a meeting of some of the biggest U.S. defense contractors to show up on Friday and to talk about how they can produce more weapons as the U.S. is running low. And we know that Iran is able to make these Shahed drones and ballistic missiles very cheaply, while the U.S. is unable to keep pace with its own billion-dollar weapon systems. Here's what Reuters is reporting. The Trump administration plans to meet with executives from the biggest U.S. defense contractors at the White House on Friday to discuss accelerating weapons production as the Pentagon works to replenish supplies after strikes on Iran and several other recent military efforts. 5 people familiar with the plans told Reuters. Companies include Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, and others. And remember Donald Trump saying, we don't have an issue with munitions, but he's calling this emergency meeting. By the way, doesn't this remind you of when Donald Trump invaded Venezuela and then brought in all of the oil companies to show up and talk about how they were going to divvy up Venezuela? Just take a look at some of this disastrous news that we're learning out of Iran as well. Iranian strikes damage structures on or near U.S. military communications and radar systems at 7 bases across the Middle East, the New York Times reports, noting at least 11 facilities hit in total. Also noted by drop site damage was identified at facilities in Bahrain, Qatar, which I just mentioned, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, and the UAE. Targets appear to include missile tracking radar systems, satellite dishes, and radomes used for long-distance military communications. Also, the Strait of Hormuz is essentially shut down at this point. As Christian Tribert writes, since Monday, just 3 oil and gas tankers. Let me repeat that. Just 3 oil and gas tankers have crossed the Strait of Hormuz, according to the latest Kepler data. It is a de facto closure, says Pickering Energy. You've got a significant number of vessels on either side of the strait, but no one is willing to go through, as Iran has said, if you go through, we will blow you up. And as a result of this, we're seeing stock markets across the world are crashing. We saw South Korea's stock market halted after an 8% crash, which even went down to more of a 10% crash, triggering a circuit breaker. The Japanese markets were crashing as well. Massive problems affecting economic markets abroad. And we now have the images, folks, of the first confirmed fatalities in Trump's illegal war on Iran. We have the photos of the service members who were in Kuwait, whose leadership was reaching out to the Trump regime in Washington, D.C. and elsewhere and saying, we are being left unprotected. These facilities that you have us in don't have any anti-drone systems. We need help here. Their requests were ignored, and this is the cost of war. And Donald Trump and his regime have now briefed Congress and stated that there will likely be many more deaths and many more service members seriously injured. Also, the United States is now planning they've already armed actually Kurdish militias. And I guess part of the United States thinking right now is they're going to try to coerce or pressure Kurdish militias to invade Iran in order to provoke a civil war in Iran. And that's supposed to encourage people in Iran to take over the country. And I'm trying to understand the plan here. There was a bipartisan briefing on the Hill today, where Donald Trump's Department of Defense and Donald Trump's State Department briefed lawmakers, and lawmakers came out of this meeting, and they looked absolutely horrified at what they heard, that the Trump regime was not able to articulate any coherent justification for the war of Iran, and that this war in Iran is going to be lasting many more weeks, if not months, if not longer, and that the Trump regime has not ruled out boots on the ground. Lawmakers are absolutely horrified. I will show you in a minute what some of those lawmakers were saying. In the meantime as well, though, in Iran, the Islamic Republic is said to have announced who their new Ayatollah is. It's actually Ayatollah Khamenei's son, Mojtaba Khomeini, has been chosen by Iran's senior clerics to be the new Ayatollah. He's as hardliner as you get. He's even more extreme than the Ayatollah who was just killed by the United States and Israel in the war. This guy, Mojtaba, was the one responsible for massacring the 30 to 40,000 protesters that Donald Trump said he was going to help back in January. No doubt that was part of the thinking of having Mojtaba become the new Ayatollah. But in any event, this was really part of the succession plan. As I've stated before, the old Ayatollah was 85 years old. He wasn't expected to live that much longer. He was becoming pretty unpopular based on the economic troubles being felt by the people of Iran. Even Shiites who previously liked him were turning against him because of the economic conditions. And now the Trump regime, based on their ill-fated, ill-conceived, ill-planned, disastrous war, have now created a situation where they've turned the Ayatollah into a martyr and has rallied the Shiite community against Donald Trump and his regime. Very serious things going on objectively, right? We started off this video talking about the U.S. consulate in Dubai hit, CIA headquarters in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia being hit, all of these military bases of the United States being hit. I'll also be very clear. The United States and Israel are striking Iran hard. And I mean making the shock and awe campaign by the United States in Iraq look small in comparison. I mean, I've heard reports that the bombing campaign that's taken place already in Iran, specifically targeted at Tehran and other large cities, is 2x, 3x, even more in terms of the size of shock and awe in Iraq. And so there's been massive attacks there. But one of the things that the Trump regime doesn't understand is how, after all of these attacks, is the Iranian government, the Islamic Republic, still running things and still able to effectively shoot these ballistic missiles and Shahed drones into the neighboring Middle East countries where the U.S. has a presence and the U.S. has a base. But here's how Donald Trump is handling it right now. He's posting memes like this. I stand with Trump, the most badass president of all time, with this AI image of him. This is, it's an account called Fruit Snacks that posted this meme. Fruit Snacks is a QAnon, espousing social media account on Donald Trump's social media platform. And this is what they're posting, the most badass president of all time. Weirdly, Donald Trump is also posting photos of New York City Mayor Zoran Mamdani. And I'm not really sure, does Donald Trump have a crush on the guy? I think so. Donald Trump posts, Zoran has come a long way, embracing, of course, the Declaration of Independence while at the Oval Office. Big progress. President DJT, that's what he's posting while the United States is at war with Iran right now. He also posted, the Genius Act is being threatened and undermined by the banks, and that is unacceptable. I mean, what type of deranged things is he posting? We're also now learning that in addition to the Trump regime saying that they will be supporting Kurdish militias to do a ground invasion of Iran, the Trump regime is also considering providing military protection, including possible maritime escorts by the U.S. Navy to oil and natural gas tankers traversing the Strait of Hormuz in a bid to cool energy prices that have surged since the conflict with Iran began.